Resident Evil Revelations 2 is the most underrated Resident Evil game you've probably never played. The game was released in February of 2015 during a strange time for Capcom, following the release of Resident Evil 6, which despite being Capcom's fourth best-selling title as of December 2020, received many mixed feelings from reviewers, stating things like the game was no longer considered a survival horror, and simply listing it as a third-person shooter, dropping any notion of, or longtime senior producer Masachika Kawada even mentioned the possibility of a reboot in an interview with Eurogamer back in 2013. I personally loved Revelations 2 when I first played through it, and recently played through it again and that same feeling persists. But whenever I talk to fans of the series, most people haven't played it. Today, we're going to be talking about why I think you should play Revelations 2, the game set in between the most divisive RE game in the franchise, RE6, and the survival horror return to form, RE7. So first off, if you aren't familiar with the Revelation series, the games were created with a focus on filling gaps in the mythology and to expand on the lore of the universe outside the main games, as well as an attempt by Capcom to transition back towards horror, hoping to please longtime fans with the horror experience they fell in love with. The games were originally released over the course of 4 episodes over 4 weeks, similar to Telltale games, with each episode ending in cliffhangers. This was done in hopes to get people who wouldn't normally buy a traditional $60 game to try it out, but I personally believe that episodic nature of the game hurt it. Many people probably playing the first episode of the game, then forgetting about it, or just not purchasing it at all. But now that the complete game is out, you can pick it all up for a decent price. Taking place in between the events of Resident Evil 5 and 6, you play as 2 pairs of characters, Claire Redfield and Moira Burton. And yeah, that's right, Barry's daughter, a callback to the original game. The other pair being Barry Burton himself and Natalia Corda, each pair fighting to escape the dangerous island of Sem, as well as find out buried secrets of Umbrella from a bygone era. If you're familiar with RE4 or the first Revelations, the game plays much like those, but with a unique twist of playing the game with 2 characters at the same time, just like RE0. You can switch between the 2 at any point, and the other character will be AI controlled, in attempt to assist you. Or, if you've got a buddy, they can control the partner character through split screen. Claire and Barry take the role of your main protagonists, being the only 2 characters that are able to use weapons. Moira not using them for story reasons, and Natalia being, well, a kid. These characters, while being far more vulnerable, support Claire and Barry with weapons such as crowbars and bricks, or can be used to find hidden items with a flashlight or special senses. These items range from additional ammo to upgrade points and crafting materials. They can also assist Claire and Barry in combat by stunning enemies and locating vital weaknesses. For the most part, the pairs will stick together, not really leaving room for individual exploration besides the occasional puzzle. Another feature that feels right at home is crafting useful items for combat, changing the way you might approach different scenarios. Speaking of changing the way you play, the game also features upgrades that you can get for your characters, giving you bonuses for playing in certain ways. Can you remember to stay crouched while firing off shots? Then take the skill and get some bonus damage for it. Want your side weapons to pack more of a punch? Let's just go for that too. Along with the weapon upgrades that are found in the game world, though some are very basic, just improving damage output or reload speeds, while others completely change the weapon, like making a shotgun or a sniper rifle burst fire. Crazy, right? It's a very simple add-in, but I'm a sucker for games that let me tackle situations in a diverse way. There's also some stealth sections thrown in there. While not mandatory, they can help you save on ammo if you decide to be a little bit stealthy. The enemy variety isn't too terribly amazing, but is made up for the way you have to fight some of them. There's one enemy that's usually a bullet sponge, unless you switch to Natalia to find its weak point, so you know exactly where to shoot, and even then, these enemies tend to move so sporadically depending on where the spot is, that it can be hard to shoot. Alongside those, you've got your run-of-the-mill zombies, your faster paced infected, and a couple of other special ones I won't mention. As far as the environments and the levels, they're mostly outside with a couple of dark indoor spaces, my personal favorite being in Chapter 3, which is my favorite chapter by far, as I had the most fun playing it due to the way that it feels kind of like a classic RE, and there are certain puzzles in there that I had a lot of fun doing, as well as the character development that goes on in that chapter. Revelations 2 also has a ton of callbacks to previous RE titles that really add to the adventure if you've played through those games before. In fact, the very first level in the game has Claire waking up in a mysterious prison on an island, just like in Code Veronica. Rev 2 also features multiple endings, which can drastically change how you feel about the game. I dare say this game may have the best ending of any RE when done properly, which all hinges on a single choice made during the third episode. Without spoiling what the choice is, all I'll say is switch to Moira. I had a blast getting to see all the Easter eggs and nods to the previous games, but most importantly, they won't detract from your enjoyment if you don't understand them all. They're just there as little love notes to the fans. Maybe it'll even get you to go back and play the past games. Something this game does that I absolutely love is bringing back Barry, who only showed up in the first game and had a small cameo in the original Resident Evil 3. This game takes a character that was only known for one-liners.
You were almost a Jill sandwich. Hope this is not Chris's blood.
And silly quips.
But just take a look at this.
It builds him up to be an extremely likable and well-developed character. Revelations 2 really gives Barry his moments, easily turning him into one of my favorite characters. Not to mention it expands on his family with the inclusion of Moira. Revelations 2 doesn't aim to be a perfect game. It's not trying to be groundbreaking or anything. The game knows what it is, and that's a fun experience, with plenty of callbacks to previous titles. The game even has an expansive online co-op mode called Raid Mode that deserves its own video, and it gives you a lot to do after you've beaten the main campaign. I implore you to give it a try if you haven't. Capcom's attempt at blending that mix of horror and action, which I believe that they did in this game, was an important stepping stone to them perfecting it in Resident Evil 2 Remake. I hope they continue to make these Revelation side series games. There's so many possibilities and ways Capcom could bring back old characters like Rebecca, Carlos, and Billy. Who knows, maybe we might even get Jill and Claire in a game together finally. Revelations 2 isn't the best Resident Evil game, but it's pretty good. And that's why I think you should play Revelations 2. Until next time.